you bend my heart and turn my hand? Why don't people understand my intentions? Plastic tubes and pots and pans, bits and pieces and magic.
Spotlight is on, Eric.
All right.
Shining bright. And this is
On you and
Annuals
me?
Week. Yeah,
On both
yeah,
of us?
on you and me. And this, actually,
right.
before I go into it, it is the Spotlight for the week of November 29th. It is Annuals Week. It's a fifth week. But it is the Spotlight for the Weird Science DC Comics podcast, a podcast that me and you both put on with help from our friends in the Get Fresh crew. Beep boop.
Doop.
Every Sunday. Every single Sunday. We've missed 1 week, Eric, the second week of podcasting we ever did, and we've been going strong since. Well, we've been going.
Yeah, we've been going.
Is it strong? Is it? That's up for debate. But, yeah, if you're tuning in right now and haven't listened to our main podcast, it is a very long podcast. It can be up to 12 hours long, though recently it's been about 8. We have trimmed the fat, Eric.
That's right.
I'm not talking about me. Because we do have a Patreon account as well. And in the Patreon account, if you go and, help us out, subscribe, whatever you want to call it, you will also get some extra books, which we like to call the Patreon Spotlight. And if you go over to the Patreon account, which is patreon.com/weirdscience, you can check all that out. You can do different levels. You'll get to hear this, all different shows. We actually have now 101
All right.
exclusive shows, 101 podcasts on Patreon since the middle of June. So
Yeah.
if you're worried about, going over and helping us out, subscribing, I like to just think subscribing. I don't want to say helping us out because we do like to try to give people something for what they, put in. We're
I
not
thought
just
the $5
asking.
level, though, obligates the person to help me move.
No, it does. But that's helping you out, but also you have to buy the pizza. So you're
Of course I
helping
gotta
them
buy the
out.
pizza.
You're
Come
helping
on.
back. But yes, with this, we do try to get, and if you are somebody who's been on some sort of Patreon deal or you don't even know what that is, if you go over to patreon.com/weirdscience and check it out, I think that you'll see that we do put in some hard work for people. Like I said, 101 episodes of different shows since the middle of June. So yeah, you'll get a bang for your buck. But back to what I was talking about, we have a spotlight each week. Just like this spotlight, we have a Patreon-only spotlight. Well, we're going to talk about 2 books that will not be on the main podcast. The only way you can listen to them is to subscribe on the Patreon account. And this week, and it's picked by the badasses of the Patreon Get Fresh crew, beep
Boop,
boop.
boop.
And this week they picked Batman Creature of the Night #1. And also we throw in there for a doubleheader, Justice League of America Annual #1. So pretty much in my neck of the woods, you are getting what I thought was the best book of the week and the worst, Eric. So it's a roller coaster ride of emotions over there on the Patreon
Both
account.
sides
But
of the
also,
spectrum, right there for you Patreons only.
yes, and also this week on the Patreon account, we also had me and Brandon's Far Out Sports Nuts. We have a sports show that we do. It was episode 11 of that. Talked a lot about the NFL this week. Usually we try to mix in a little bit more, though our forte right now is the NFL.
Well, it's football season.
I use it, yeah, but that's also basketball and hockey season too. But
It's
this week
football
it was
season.
very heavy football, and if you're an Eagles fan, you could subscribe and hear me gloat about the Eagles, and also hear me talk trash about my fantasy football team that ended up kicking me in the ass. Just the trash talking. I thought I had vaulted in the first place, and yet I did not. So you can hear that. Me and Brandon have fun with that. We have certain, different segments on their audio clip of the week. We usually have a segment called Issue or Asshole, all this sort of thing. It's, to me, we try to make it like the pop culture podcast that is, R.I.P., but a sports version of that. But we also have a new show, Eric. It's the 3rd episode of a show that I hear is called the Weird Science Comic News Podcast. And I say that I think it's funny because well, that's the thing. You don't have to be fancy, or you can. That it is true. It's a Patreon show. It's the show I do by myself. It's a news show. Ryan may join me eventually from the Columbus Comics Corner, and you may join me at one point. It kind of ends up on Wednesday. It comes up on Wednesday, and I kind of gather shit and then just there's no set schedule, so I just go and do it. So it's kind of easy to do it by myself, but I like to talk to other people. But this is the third episode. If you're listening to this and you haven't heard it, you can get a listen. It's actually on our main feed. This episode I put on the main feed so that you can listen to it and see what's going on. At the end I mention it's a normal Patreon, but I don't really even push it that much. But yeah, if you want to check out that, and I hope that that gives you a little bit of an inkling of what we do on the Patreon for our other shows. And what I mean by it is it's mailing it in. Actually, it's like 30 minutes, so it's not much of an investment for you guys to listen. Give it a listen if you like it. You can subscribe. I'll give you a little tip. It is the 30th. Coming up will be the first of the month, and you can go over to the Patreon, subscribe, and you will not be billed until the beginning of next year, actually, January of 2018. So you can give it a try, give it a free trial. I do think that we have enough shows and a lot of diverse shows that you'll end up actually liking at least one of them, if not all of them. So there.
Hopefully all of them.
There. And yeah, that's it. But it's Annuals Week. Let's get back to what we're here, the matter at hand. Annuals Week usually sucks, Eric. It usually sucks big time. Oh, it sucks. It's the suckiest suck that ever sucked. This one wasn't as bad. I have to admit that there were more books than what I'm used to. And usually what happens is when this comes around, especially because if you don't know, we also do written reviews for all the books that we talk about on the podcast. And if you wanted to read those, you can go over and you'll get a little different spin. I don't think it's, all of a sudden I'm going to say that something's a 2 and then on the podcast I give it a 10. But you'll get more of a written deal. It kind of has a different voice to it, Eric. It's the voice of not being out loud. It's written. Do you get that?
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? But you go over to Weird Science, DCComics.com, and you can look at these. And usually when Annuals Week comes about, it seems like it's like, all right, I can kick up my feet and, I'm enjoying the ride. I can relax. I had 5 books this week. I still haven't finished Super Sons yet. I'm telling you, it hit me like a brick wall. You had 1 book, that being Batman Annual. Reggie had a couple, which one of them is obviously a book we're talking about tonight. But I will say that a lot of people thought like, oh, man, a lot of books this Annuals Week. People get upset. Some people check out immediately to Annuals Week. Actually, a couple really good books this week. So I would tell you.
Some surprise books.
Yeah, and some surprisingly good books, and some surprisingly bad ones. There's a mix.
And some not so surprisingly bad ones.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. But yeah, we're going to go off now because the book we're talking about tonight is the DC Writers Workshop. Is that the actual official
DC Writers Workshop 2017 number 1?
Number 1, yeah. I didn't write it down, but this is a book that we actually recorded earlier in the week before we even did our reviews because it's with Reggie.
You know what it is? It's New Talent Showcase 2017.
Yeah, okay. That's what I'm saying. I knew it was something else. A New Talent Showcase 2017 number 1. But yeah, we talked about it with Reggie before he went off to England. If you're not aware, if you don't listen to the show and hear about that, he went off to jolly old England this week, so he had to do the books early. So it almost seems like this one was from last week, how early we did it. But we're going to go off, and we had a good time talking about it. I'll give you a little hint. We were surprised at this one. This one actually surprised us because we have not had good, thoughts of other workshop books. Workshop books and us, we don't get along well. They try to not invite us to the same parties, is what I'm saying, Eric. And this one, though.
Or any of the parties.
The party was in your mouth, Eric. But yeah, it's pretty good. We're going to go off now to hear me, Eric, and Reggie talk about it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that New Talent Showcase written by Tony Patrick, Aaron Gillespie, Al Letson, Owl Going Back, Proctor and Harrell, David Acampo, and Scott Snyder. Art by Mink-Yu Young, Klaus Janson, Pete Pantazis, Lynn Yoshi, Bet Sotelo, Al Letson, Sia Om, Chris Peter, Matt Murhoff, Dave McKay, Lalit Sharma, Jagdish Kumar, Sam Lotfi, John Rauch, Ibrahim Mustafa, and Romulo Fajardo Jr.
Damn right.
Ain't looking for Batman. Damn it. Nah, don't need no Superman reason. Damn it. I'd rather see a story with Poison Ivy beating up on a demon. This book's for you. Damn it. I don't need to see Tom King. Damn it. Or V. Ken Marion's Quill. I want to read work by folks I never heard of and pay $8 for the thrill. This book's for you. Got too much time. Got too much money. Got an open mind. This book's for you.
Yes.
That was the worst Neil Young song.
Yeah, that was not great. That was not great. What is your favorite Neil Young song? Keep on Rocking in the Free World. Is that?
I like that
it's
one.
Weird. When that one came out, nobody seemed to like it, and then Pearl Jam jumped on that and used to play it in concert and even with Neil Young, and now it's become I don't know, people really love it, but I remember at a point people made fun of it, but that's that. I like Needle and the Damage Done. That is my favorite Neil Young song. It gets to me every time, makes me remember that guy Eric Shea who died of heroin abuse. It's sad, and it's weird though, because as he's now, it's the anniversary, 3rd year anniversary of his death. It almost seems like I can still talk to him.
Oh God, it's happening.
Whoa.
Did anybody else get furious when you open this book and you get the first thing, what you hold in your hands as the result of an experiment? I'm like, an experiment? This is a very fucking expensive experiment here, buddy.
I know.
I'm telling you, they are giving you pretty much, again, we say it all the time, a homework assignment that they're going to charge you a lot of money for.
Let me tell you, if this book was $4,
yeah,
I could see it, because it is it's going to be green people, and these could be the writers and artists for tomorrow. This year they did do a cool thing though, and I got to big them up. Last year it was just writers with established artists.
Yeah, they went both.
This year they gave a lot of artists some shine, and I like that. I like the fact that they are giving new talent a chance. I don't expect perfect stuff out of it. I judged every story in this book on like storytelling, whether it was clear, whether I didn't really worry about whether it was a fully engrossing story.
Well,
that did factor in a little bit. There
is one that I really did take notice to because of other things.
There were two I liked a lot, but we'll see.
Right now, this is the strongest showcase of what we've gotten. I'm actually surprised at how much I enjoyed it.
It's still. I didn't love it. Yeah, maybe you guys liked it more than me. I actually went through this, and especially not to Jess, but it just to me don't have that thing. What you hold in your hand is an experiment. Oh, we did this, and the other thing. No, just throw it out there and pretend that you're full out, because this really is, to me, it's homework that you're ending up charging us to read. Now, it also seems like it's one of those where they almost seem like they want to make these into like the baseball rookie card. Like, we'll read this and like, I remember I read the first story of so-and-so. It was in the – but people don't remember shit like that.
Now you're really learning how to be a crazy comic collector. There you go. Yeah. Very good.
But this is, that's what they tried to get with this. Now, it does start with, and we're not going to go page for page for page. No. We'll just tell you what the deal is. But this roll call is kind of more of an important story because it is the signal. It is Duke. And I believe
already this book now it already features 70% more Duke Thomas than almost any other Batman title.
Yes,
so
it does.
It's nice to see this character finally like doing something. That's cool. So I enjoyed that.
And the biggest thing, though, Reggie, if you're not aware, this is the guy who's writing the Signal book. The Batman the Signal book is written by him. So this is all like of importance of stories to me. This is the most important story.
This is like a preview of what you're going to
see. This is giving you what you think. And I don't know because, and I hate to say this, Tony Patrick follows us on Twitter and seems like a really nice guy. I don't know if he has the voices of these characters down. At least in my opinion, it seems
especially wrong. I thought.
It seems a little off, and that worries me. It worries me going forward. Now it is, Red Hood. He has completely bad in this, but the Signal's okay and this Duke's okay, but even just I don't know, just the situation and all that, it just didn't seem right to me. Nothing in this whole little story felt right. It looked good.
Well, it felt more like a Red Hood story than a Duke story because Red Hood's talking the entire time and just kind of throwing shade at, Duke, teaching him a lesson about what it means to be, a partner to Batman and like what lessons you should take from him, which ones you should learn on your own.
And
really, it's just Duke kind of just protecting himself and listening to Red Hood.
In the meantime,
he has to get murdered by the Joker, or beaten up by the Joker.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, I'm gonna do a little name dropping here. Way back before the Signal book was announced, and Scott Snyder actually still talked to me, he actually said, you got to just, hold tight. There's going to be an announcement soon. There's a guy that I'm working with on a special book that's from the workshop, the writer's workshop. We're going to be revealing a book. It's going to be awesome. And that ended up being the Signal book. I can only think that this story is what led to that. Because he did say so. It's weird. Like you said, this is more of a focus on Red Hood. Is it just that Scott Snyder, he knows this guy can write well? There's more going on in the workshop than that, and that he took an interest. He was the smartest one to take an interest in Duke Thomas, and it just was at the right time in the right place. Because I didn't read this thinking, okay, this guy knows Duke, or this guy's going to have something interesting with Duke to do going forward. And I'm really now hyped up for the Signal book.
The only thing I actually got me a little bit worried because it seems in this story alone, we are focusing on the idea that Duke is from the bad part of the Narrows. It's not exactly Crime Alley where Jason grew up, but it's still a bad neighborhood. Is that what we're going to focus on? Because even when Catwoman shows at the end to be working with Jason during the whole training montage, she's like, you're not the only one who grew up in a tough neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's like,
and with this all,
focusing on.
Yeah, and with this all, the whole story just basically goes around the whole clay room in the Belfry. They're training the mud room, and that Clayface set up with Tim.
I call X-Men Danger Room.
Yes, it is the muddy danger room. But with this, and it's like amped up to a level that shouldn't be, and they're going to fight and all that, and it's basically just an opportunity for some trash talking.
Take it in the context. This might be a preview of a series to come. It might explain why Catwoman's here. Maybe she'll figure into that series. Because otherwise, why the fuck was she in the book? I have no idea why.
She's just there.
The way Duke finds out there's cat hair.
He's got cat hair in his mouth.
I mean, clubs, and he picks it up and sneezes. Therefore, cat hair, therefore Catwoman. Who else could it be, folks?
Yeah.
Who else
could it be?
Cheetah?
But yeah.
No.
But yeah, and again, it's so quick, and it's just this thing. It goes with what we put up in the Patreon deal when we had that little excerpt, that side conversation where Eric loves things that take place in one room. Well, here you got it, buddy, because that's basically it's just there.
But the room changed, so it doesn't work in my mind.
But then it moves on, and then the next story is a Katana story. And it's okay. I will tell you that it's the best interaction that Katana's had with the sword that we've seen since Rebirth, because at least it talks to her. It doesn't just say guilt, 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 and you have it. But
I hate King Snake, but I'm actually happy to see him here because we have not seen King Snake in a long time.
And with this story, again, all I can think of is some of these stories are kind of a little bit of a job interview, maybe. Like maybe this whole deal is like, see if you can handle this because we might have a writer. We might need a writer for Suicide Squad later. And there's two kind of Suicide Squad stories. But this is Aaron Gillespie writing. I don't know that it wouldn't be bad to have Aaron Gillespie on the Suicide Squad. I think that it was pretty good.
This little snippet was okay.
Nothing in this is going to matter.
Like Katana loses her sword in a explosion, and as they're going away, she has to go back and get it because her husband's ghost
goes against orders from Amanda Waller.
Goes against
everybody's trying to evac out of the area. She turns around and goes back for her sword.
Yeah, it goes back because
she eventually gets it. Then Waller comes at the end. She's like, "You went against my orders, but you're all right."
And all of these, that's the problem.
What happened? It's the worst ending to this.
I'm telling you, all these endings
about killing Katana, all this other at the end. Here's your sword.
There's so many endings in this, and we talked about this the last workshop, where you have these things where the one that drove me more nuts than any was the one that seemed to be the lesson, or they were trying to do as the cliffhanger that would never be resolved. At least these have endings, but they're so forced. It's like and when you get to the end, just end it. Yeah, Amanda Waller's like, you know what you're gonna do? you're going to have a nice day, and gives the sword that's already there. So, yeah, the ending's lame. But I think that both the art and the story in this, to me, was a decent enough Suicide Squad and Katana. And with Katana, yeah, you're always going to focus on the sword. I actually liked what we got here, especially when she's going to kill him at the one point. She's like, no, I don't want you in the sword with my husband. And I thought that was a pretty good deal. Yeah. And at one point, Katana's pretty much, just kill me, then at least I'll be with my husband.
And I actually even like the whole wraparound thing. The reason the Suicide Squad's there is to stop King Snake from manufacturing Venom. Like, you know what? It's not a bad story.
Yeah, it actually was decent enough. Then we move to the next one, which is a Nightwing story. And when we talk
about family, well, this one had a
this one
artistically
I thought was just
it was probably
so
the worst
weird.
of the whole batch. It was Vertigo has kidnapped his half brother and their family because he's afraid they're going to threaten his throne, his countess, and Nightwing is going in, early, waiting for the backup of the rest of the Bat family, and he basically has to go up, John McClane style, up a skyscraper, beating people up, and the whole way along,
get the signal out there to the rest of the Bat family to show up for backup.
Exactly. Yep. So and even later on, there's a part where he's like, "Come on, guys, you better show up." Vertigo's fucking around. But the whole thing is about the family aspect is that throughout his whole thing, there's these captions with pictorial members of the Bat family giving him advice, and they're even like in their voices, like Damian's a little asshole to him.
The Bat family of the mind.
Exactly. I thought that was cute.
I thought it was fun the first time I saw it, but then when it continued the rest of the story, I'm like, all right, this is overused now, and I don't ever want to see it again.
Yeah. I mean, it's the kind of thing you obviously couldn't make a series out of this. You know what I mean? It probably is a little, but I basically like the Damian stuff. I like the interactions between Damian and Nightwing, and apparently I even like them when they're all in Nightwing's head. Yeah. It's always a lot of fun. So.
Yeah.
I just didn't understand the wraparound where we have to get, it's Count Vertigo's half-brother. He decided to sacrifice himself to give Dick more time to get his husband and their child up to the roof, and so he can contact the Bat family because Count Vertigo has set up a jamming device. And the problem is, by the time Count Vertigo actually gets to the roof to stop Dick, the Bat family has already arrived and blown him. Like, what the
That's
fuck?
what I'm saying. It's another one of those endings of yep, let's end this, because it just ends like that. And
there was no kind of understanding before this that maybe if you spelled out,
Eric, it's because you don't know what family is. Your family always leaves you no matter what, so you don't know what a strong family does.
What the hell are we talking about when we talk about
Why you got to slice deep like this?
I better watch out because your mom's listening, but I'm just telling you that this is what family does. They go there at due diligence. They get there right away. They don't decide like, hey, you know what, you're moving, I'll be there next week. That doesn't happen with a real family. It doesn't happen there. But yeah, it's okay. Did you like the story?
It's one of my favorites in the showcase.
Yeah, I think
I felt the same way about Eric. I liked the gimmick at first, but it wore on me after a while. It's the kind of thing, if this had been 4 pages, maybe it would have gone over better. But other than that, I don't really give a fuck about Batwoman, the Batwoman of the mind, or even that much Batman of the mind.
I like that Batman doesn't show
Drake's
it looks.
Costume is wrong.
Yeah, it's wrong. And I like that Batman and Jason Todd. They ain't going to Bloodhaven. They got better shit to do.
I like the fact they tangle with Count Vertigo to some extent. That's normally.
Yeah, that's okay because you don't see him much. But yeah,
and that's the thing though. It's like Jim and I were discussing. You think of the great Green Arrow villains and shit like that, and like Count Vertigo is one of the biggest.
Count Vertigo, Merlin.
And I hate him.
Yeah, he doesn't like him. I don't mind him some. The next one, I think the art's incredible. The next one is
this was one of the two strongest art offerings in the book.
I think the art, and I think that
the writer of this story gets the award for the best name, not only of this comic, probably of the year. Owl going back.
I told Eric. I said when we were going through these, I said, Owl's on the scene. But this. The art by I can't even read it in this way that it's Matt. Yeah, it's so good that they realized that in that little letter at the beginning, what you're holding is an experiment. There's actually a poison ivy there from this. They're really pushing that. I think it's the best art in the whole issue.
It's the best art, and I think the story would have worked a whole lot better if this was Swamp Thing and not Poison Ivy.
Yeah, and you got the whole thing where they're continuing that whole Poison Ivy being part of the green, so that's okay with me.
Yeah, the
It's
connection,
just
just the whole thing, like all of a sudden, like the succubi is actually affecting the entire green by turning at one point, like talking about I have drained forests into deserts and shit like that. This seems like a job for Swamp Thing.
I will tell you though, to me, this issue actually is like really feels like a full out like a treatment that they would say, okay. Anybody want to do a Poison Ivy book? Give me an idea.
Is a real pitch.
This is more of a pitch than any other one to me. Like this really.
She'll fight demons. She'll fight ghosts. She'll be a protector of the green.
And you do what they did with Batwoman in the beginning of the New 52, how it was more of a supernatural book of Poison Ivy that could work.
Yeah, and I'm saying
every time I think that this is a job for Poison Ivy, I really think to myself, this is more of a job for Swamp Thing.
For Swamp Thing. I'm telling you, but even by the end, like, this isn't just okay, I'm Poison Ivy, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. There is a lot of exposition about what this writer thinks Poison Ivy is and how Poison Ivy does things and why she does them. I think that this, in this little bit, is the most complete story, even though it's not my favorite. But it is to me, if you jumped in here and didn't know about Poison Ivy, you actually can learn a little about Poison Ivy and what she's about and how this guy's going about with it. Now, it is very supernatural as well.
Succubi.
Yeah, and succubi and things like that. But with the art in this really felt like them putting something together to say, look, we know Poison Ivy. Look at this art. The two of us together, we could really kick ass and do this. And I'm with them. I actually would be interested to see what they would do. And then they got a hold of Al and said, listen, in this SJW world, you have to be a woman to write Poison Ivy, possibly. Because I have seen,
and
I believe
Al may be a woman. We don't know.
No, I saw Al.
No, I know Al.
I saw Al. Yeah, so
anyway, so this we know it's not a certain member of a league on Twitter because it ends with Poison Ivy setting the succubus on fire using a Harley Quinn lighter, and we know that certain people.
But again, a succubi, a little evil. Okay, so she's done. No, the where a certain league would probably be upset is the fact that at the beginning children are missing, and Poison Ivy says, "I don't give a fuck about children. I only care about the plants." Now you have a little bit of a problem.
Like the children screamed, yes, but I didn't hear until the plants screamed, and that's why I'm here.
Yeah, that might be a little bit of a sticking point.
But I'm with her on that, though. I don't care about the children's.
I don't care about the plants
either. Let them in the movies.
The next story, it is, again, we have a bit of a Suicide Squad story, but a Deadshot story. Yeah. And the only thing that got me upset is I love the New 52 origin of Deadshot. And Eric
I was
knows.
thinking about that the entire time.
Eric knows it's one of my favorite actual origins that they did in Villains Month. And it was, I'm telling you, if you go back, if you are a Deadshot fan, or even if you're just like, oh, I want to see, go back and get that Villains Month issue of Deadshot. To me, it is one of the best issues of the New 52. I loved it. And this kind of goes against it. It kind of works.
This is the classic Deadshot origin.
Yeah, this is the classic. It's going back to the classic.
This is not a continuity.
No, it's not. That's what I'm saying. It's not. But it just, and I'm telling you, it threw me off personally.
The setup for this story, too, is so, like, almost old school comic with how, like, ridiculous it is. Like, all of a sudden, my long-lost brother who I thought was dead, he's alive.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, whatever, man.
And I'll
cool.
tell you, the art in this, it reminds me of somebody. It's not a DC artist. And I can't remember who it was, but it reminds me of this art, and it's a weird art style that actually, the more I see it, the more I like it for some reason.
Yeah.
That
it's loose, like, but it's good.
It's loose. It's a little cartoony, but it's like one of those like cartoony violent deal. Like maybe it's the Judge Dredd stuff or something that it reminds me of. I don't know. There's something that I've seen recently, like an image book, that has this style of art that I like. And with this, though, again, it's pretty much a standard. There's nothing really that great.
Yeah, well, Eddie Lawton is actually alive, and he's under control of Dr. Conrad Boyenko.
And in this continuity, Deadshot tried to kill, as a child, was tired of his mother and them getting beat up by his abusive father, so he tried to kill his father by doing a sniper shot. End up killing his brother Eddie instead. And at that point, he just exactly at that point he's like, I will never wait. Yeah. I'll never miss again at this point.
Now, in the meantime, the New 52 revamp deal was basically that there was a robbery in a building that Deadshot was living in, and the bullets went through the wall because the guys went nuts. They, to kill one person, they shot like 70 bullets and ended up killing his family. And he basically said,
Never waste a bullet.
Yeah, I'm going to be I will never waste a bullet ever again.
One bullet, one kill.
Yeah, and it was really good the way it turned out. I just wanted to throw that out there because I was saying what I liked about it. But
I was thinking about you the entire time. I was just like, oh, Jimmy ain't gonna like this one.
I love it so much. I love it. But go on, Reggie. Tell us what happened.
Well, so it turns out Eddie is not dead. He was, again, sold into medical slavery to Dr. Conrad Bianco, who's been by the totally shitty father. So he's been experimenting on him, and he's figured out how to basically mind control people, and he mind controls Eddie Lawton, where Floyd is trying to get him to, break his mind control, but he's just shooting Floyd over and over again. Yeah, the hive mind, exactly. He just shoots him over and over. Finally, so basically, though, so this was kind of like a bullshit ending where Floyd will not shoot his brother until he does. And then
until he does. That's it. And in the meantime, his brother has said, I've been mind controlled. I've done such horrors. Please kill me. I want to die. Please kill me. So at the end, it's basically like, and I love the guy who's controlling him. Like, no, he didn't think he was going to do that.
I know.
And I like this guy, too, because he reminds me of this one-shot villain. I think it was Jeff Lemire who put it out there. It was Polargeist, who was somebody like going up. I think it was a Future's End story where you saw Equinox's character created going up against this Polargeist guy, this freaking cybernetic guy who rode on polar bears. Like, the concept was so ridiculous to me. I wanted to see more and more of it. Never saw him again. And this guy just kind of looks like him. Like,
he also remind me of
the origin of Polargeist.
Remind me of Sid Borg. What's his name? Cy Borgman from Harley a little, like a younger version of Cy. Yeah, it was okay. And the wraparound is that Amanda Waller knew all along that his brother was there, and she doesn't have to tell him.
You stay on mission.
Yeah, so then the next one's a Dr. Fate
It was a very over-the-top kind of, like a comic book story where the long-lost brother returns. It's like, all right, I see what you're doing there.
Again, it didn't get me angry, but there was nothing to it. Now, the next story, again, I'm not a huge Dr. Fate fan. And I did not like this. I
liked this one.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot. I thought it was a waste of time.
Where I thought the art was real strong. Between this and the Poison Ivy, these are the two best.
It's so weird that I thought that the art was awful. I hated it. Right. At points, it even reminded me a bit of that end of the New 52 Dr. Fate book, and it drove me nuts. So, and I to me, this story was just nothing. It was a bunch of pages of nothing. But you guys talk about
Magic costs, Jim.
This is like, we might as well have a Cyborg issue, a story where he's like, am I machine or man at the end? It's always the same shit. But go on.
So using magic, it fucks Kent Nelson up, right? Is that what he is? What's his name?
Kent Nelson, yes.
Kent Nelson, yeah. It fucks him up, and he has that kind of shitty relationship with Naboo from ancient Egypt because Naboo's always calling him to put on the helm and become the magical whatever that he's supposed to be.
And the thing is, I will agree with Jim to a degree where this is almost the whole thing with man or machine. Like, we're getting in the metal right now where the mother box tells Cyborg, like, you have to either be human or you have to become one. And you're like, something like this, because this is the whole thing is Naboo is pushing Kent Nelson to become one with the Helm of Fate instead of holding on to his humanity.
This is the curse of having the Helm of Naboo, is that you can't. It's not a part-time job. You know what I mean? That's what he's trying to say. It's like,
but we all know this.
Put it on, it's gonna fuck up your.
Telling you, this is
you up. It
do
makes
something
you look,
new,
it makes you
though.
look like a piece of shit.
Oh, yeah.
So then he's walking around without it. He's feeling good. He's not Dr. Fate. He doesn't have to help people. But then the demon wolf, three-eyed demon wolf, comes back and he realizes, yeah, I do. Naboo's helm.
Well, that's even at one point. The cost of magic is too much, and he starts freaking, bricking up the Helm of Fate into the wall of the Tower of Fate. Like, I am done with you. I am done with magic. Fuck being a superhero. I'm out.
Yes,
but it just busts out of his tower. No problem. And we knew that you can't keep a good helm down, so it slaps on his face. Dr. Fate pulls some crazy mystical bandages on the wolf.
Which is bullshit. He's like, but you will not escape with the bonds of Mahat. And I'm like, the wolf immediately escapes. I'm like, God damn it, Dr. Fate, be better at this.
Yeah, he's got to do a little more work. But he's only been 1 foot in, 1 foot out. But in the end, he makes a deal with Naboo, like, all right, I'll do your bidding. I'll be your magic guy, but you can't let me look like fucking, Vincent Price hours before death. Yeah. So they restore him to look like a cutie pie again, and that's his curse, that's his life.
Well, that was the most fucked up thing, where the Helm of Fate Naboo was actually testing Kent Nelson, because like he tried to lock him away because he was too into the idea of looking like good at his humanity and all that stuff. And this big wolf monster that came out, it was actually created by the Helm of Naboo to test Kent Nelson, to see that you will make the hero's choice even if this happens. So it's kind of a fucked up thing where the Helm actually put him in this situation where he is going to be this fucked up monster.
It's basically entrapment. That's all it is.
And I thought it was a cool wraparound to see that, this is the lengths that Naboo will go to have a host.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is in the end when he makes the deal with Naboo, I'm like, why is Naboo even making the deal? And Naboo's like, no. Obviously, I do whatever the fuck I want, so you will be the Dr. Fate that rocks the helm. But, there's always got to be, a cost to whatever power, and this was a decent way. I just couldn't feel differently than Jim about it. I thought the art was great in this. I loved it. I loved the way these guys' faces are rendered.
Oh, I like some of the stuff. The stuff with the where Kent's face is melting and the horrific look of that, I think looks good. But I was with Jim where a lot of the beginning, it did remind me of that DCYU Dr. Fate series, and immediately I just kind of groaned to myself.
Yeah, you know what it is for this too?
I think that's what might be where your problem is coming from, because
maybe
you're just remembering Dr. Fate as a shitty character you don't want to read about.
The other thing that I go with though is while I'm looking at this and I see the art and it's very stylized, it's got this whole deal, and then I think about reading an entire issue with this art, and I think it'd be too much for me. I don't think I could go full 21 pages.
Like Gabriel Rodriguez, who draws that lock and key thing.
Yeah,
I love that.
There's somebody. This is another one that reminds me of something else as well, but I can't. Is it Chris Burnham that did?
Yeah, he does. That too, yeah.
That's who I think it reminds me of. But
there are aspects to that style, and especially in the lines and the costumes and stuff like that. When you have different shading and stuff like that, I can see a lot of Burnham in that.
Yeah, I just get the idea that it'd be too much for me for an entire. It's almost like when I eat a coconut cream pie, Reggie. I can take 7 slices. I can't eat the whole pie.
I can.
That extra slice. But yes. The last story then is actually Scott Snyder, and it's a Scott Snyder story, Wonder Woman story, and with art by Ibrahim Mostafa. Again, these are two established people. You know what I mean? This is just thrown in there.
Yeah.
And I said to Eric that it was interesting to me because a lot of people have been wondering what Scott Snyder would be doing after Metal, and he won't have a book at that point.
Yeah.
And there is James Robinson doing the story with Wonder Woman that seems to really be pushing things, not really going forward. It's really pushing to kind of stay put to something that I said to Eric. Maybe this is another one of these things. I always think that all these have something going on behind the scenes.
There's a deeper meaning behind it.
There's always some sort of controversy or, conspiracy to me. And I do think that maybe this is to throw it out there so that people can get, Scott Snyder maybe is watching and thinking okay, I want to see what people think of how I write Wonder Woman. The problem is, though, not a lot of Wonder Woman in this, really. There is, but there
really
isn't.
A great story, quite
and it's okay. It's interesting.
This is my favorite story. And
I'm telling you.
When you and I were talking before about, it was before All-Star Batman came out and stuff like that. I don't think it was announced. What would you like to see Scott Snyder on next? And I thought Wonder Woman would be pretty cool. And looking at this, and it might be also kind of a biased thing because this whole Warehouse 13, Friday the 13th series of the librarians thing that we got going on this year, I love that concept. When we had it here, I got so happy.
I'm actually very surprised.
In the, storage.
Yeah. I'm very surprised that they didn't go really full out with, known artifacts and things. Because if you look, you can see a monkey paw on the one page and stuff. But then everything kind of blanks out and gets very generic.
This is your chance to go nuts with shit like that.
I really would. I wish that he would have went completely nuts on this art to just show everywhere that you turn that you're looking to see more things. But basically it's a 2-part kind of story where in the past Wonder Woman is talking to her mother pretty much about the lasso of truth. At one point you actually think that it might even be like a weapon type deal, but it is the lasso right away. She sees that. And then in the meantime, Steve Trevor, they have this very secret warehouse that's got glyphs around the
50 feet
door
below
and
the
things like
Smithsonian
that.
Institute.
Yeah, and basically it's all the magical artifacts that the United States
warded,
have
it's got
grabbed.
soul traps, psychic
it's got
resonators,
crazy
holy
stuff.
water hoses.
But again,
even
I
got
would have
machine
liked to
guns
have
in the
seen
walls
that.
Loaded up with Cold Iron and Silver Bullet.
And I understand you have to kind of push it forward. I would have loved to have seen them have to get through traps and shit like that, all Indiana Jones like. And as this is going on, the magical artifacts are kind of coming to life in this vault. They're, pages
and that's why they've called Wonder Woman down, because
so they called Wonder Woman
something.
And she seems to know a lot of the things. She points out some things, and then out of nowhere, this one general all of a sudden starts becoming a fucking lotus plant or something and becomes an alien type deal. His head blows up.
I thought that looked cool as hell, because he's yelling about the whole idea, like, we have her down there. She's not doing anything to solve it. So I say we should get rid of her as much as we should get rid of all these. And all of a sudden, his mouth just opens up like it's a flower petal blooming.
That part looked cool.
But then when he was this big kaiju, no, that's not that cool. It's not that cool. It actually looks like Thanos with some horns out the side and flowers on it. And it really, like, at the point I'm wondering, like, how did you get out of the fucking... It looks like they're in, like, the Pentagon or whatever.
Yeah, well, this monster is towering over top the entire Pentagon.
Yeah, and the problem is, though, it doesn't look like where he should have come out is even broken up. How do you get out of that? Like, the shit...
Magic.
Yeah, I guess, because that really threw me off then. I'm like, that's weird. But yeah, in the meantime, not really much happens here. It's Wonder Woman learning about the perfect, and basically her mom saying, like, listen, a lot of people don't like the lasso because they're afraid of the truth and don't tell the truth or whatever. And obviously, Diana's not afraid of that. She says, why would anyone ever fear the truth? And then she's like, my brave little warrior, you'll find out one day. And then she is attacking this alien, magical whatever,
wearing
demon,
some of the magic artifacts,
wearing the stuff that she gathered. The problem with me is it didn't really wrap around to that when she's like, oh, brave little warrior, you'll find out someday, and then perhaps that will always be your strength. But yet what you're seeing to me isn't really what they're talking about.
The lasso. She should have been using the lasso.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And even if it was something like
where it does not like come fully around to what I'm telling you, in the past.
If this guy,
I think I really got caught up in this warehouse.
If we had a setup where this fucking general was like, we had more of him and more of a setup of him, and he's the one lying, and this is the truth, and what you never get that wraparound. It really just is a catchphrase ending that doesn't match the story, though. Obviously, Scott Snyder, even if Dancing Mike disagrees, the guy knows how to write some dialogue. He knows his way around a comic, and the dialogue and the thing in this is the best in this book. The guy's Scott Snyder, but... And
it's a really interesting premise that I want to see more of.
That's the problem. The problem I have with it is I want to see more, and I don't think we ever will see more. So that actually throws me off a bit because, I would have loved... And even so... She's already out of that vault. The vault, you could spend 3 issues, and me and Eric would think it's the greatest thing of her. It'd just be her cataloging things and whatever.
That shit. I don't know why.
It would have been so cool.
I didn't understand why it was in this story, though, because the story is about the lasso, and then
that's what I'm saying.
It really is totally superfluous. Like, I really found it to be...
Isn't the lasso something that should be down there as well, Reggie?
It's pointless. It really has nothing to do with
Can I tell you what it
anything.
reminds me of? It reminds me of a classic Paul McCartney song back in the day where Paul would have 3 different things in a song. Next thing you know, he puts them together, and you have, one of his big hits that every bit of the song is obviously different. But this is a couple ideas melded together that don't quite fit to me. They just don't, and I wish they did because I'm very interested in, and I'm telling you give me a little girl Wonder Woman, and I think it's the greatest thing ever. I love seeing her as a little girl and learning things and stuff like that. I know
this go back to the 50s when they used to have Wonder Tot.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, I know that was starting to sound creepy, so I'm glad you brought it, but I'm telling you, and I love that.
You should go back to the 50s when that shit was acceptable.
Yeah, but with this little Wonder Woman and learning about the lasso does not tie in to anything in the other part. And it's a shame because I do like the concepts of it. I like the way he writes it. I think that I like his Steve Trevor, and the little things that you're getting, but you're not getting enough. And so it was a little disappointing because of that, because I do want to have Scott Snyder maybe try Wonder Woman, even if it was like an all-star Wonder Woman, something like that. Maybe it's not going to be full-out continuity book or main book, but something like that. And I would have liked to have seen more of that. So that's a shame, but that's the end. That ends the issue. A lot of pages. A lot of pages in that issue.
And we get the yearbook goodbyes in the autograph section, where they all the people in the class say we had a great time.
That's called the gym. It brings up bad memories that nobody signed his yearbook, so he doesn't read that.
I figured. I'd rather have that though than the bullshit in the front that said what you hold in your hands.
Yeah,
like, I'd rather have all the
yeah, but again, all it is every time they do this. Here's the thing. I didn't read it, Reggie.
Read it, for God's sake.
Okay, I'm saying I didn't read it. I'm guessing that most of them kiss the asses of the Jansons and the Snyders that are the ones that were involved. That's just mine.
Andy Kubert.
And Andy Kubert. See, but it has to all be. Now I'm going to look. I'm just going to pull up one. Andy Kubert and Klaus Janson are really the best teachers in the industry. Boom. I'm right. Where's my ding? That's all it's going to be in this pack.
Control the ding.
So, guys, what was your favorite story in the showcase?
Wow.
My favorite. I'll go right away, and I'll tell you that my favorite. I'm trying to remember what was the first one.
It was Red Hood and Duke roll call.
No, that was my actual favorite was probably Poison Ivy. And it's funny because I said it's not like the greatest story, but I thought that was the most complete story. It seemed to me to have...
It was a perfect meld of story and art.
It was a roller coaster ride of emotions. Yeah. And I thought that it had the... I'm trying to explain. It had the best vision going in, that the writer and the artist together seemed to have a full vision of what they wanted to do. So at the end, it didn't just end with here's your sword, Katana. I like the Katana story, too. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, that was probably my second favorite, actually, which is crazy. But it didn't have that crazy end, like, here's the Bat family that arrived out of nowhere and stuff like that. So I thought that was the best overall story. And the art, I think, was the best in the issue.
It was.
I thought the art was great. Just the detail of the art in that 4A workshop.
Like the Red Hood and Duke one art as well.
Yeah, and I like these people. These guys are all talented. A long way to it. Every man and woman.
Young's not a slouch either.
Every man and woman on this is talented, but this person who did the what's it called, the Poison Ivy deal could be on an issue tomorrow.
Matt Mirahoff?
Now, I thought that some of that was a little stiff, to be honest with you. I did like it, and the heavy amount of Ivy detail, you can't front on that, but I would say that my favorite was definitely the Dr. Fate story.
Oh, you
with Poison Ivy as a close second, but I think that was just I love the art style on that. I like the concept. I won't say I loved it, but I like the concept.
I'm surprised that they don't go with like a cyborg story in this. Try to get some, somebody writing something good on Cyborg.
Oh, that's canceled, baby. Cyborg's done.
Yeah. So, how about you, Eric? What's your favorite?
I'm really just struggling here because I'm looking at all the stories and what I thought, and I'm still like, even with the inconsistencies, I still think I have to go with Wonder Woman of the Archives as my favorite story because it's the story that I wanted to see more of when it was over.
More of, yeah. Yeah. Well, what would you give it overall,
With that Poison Ivy making up a second, I think. That's the thing is, actually, I hate Katana, and I cringe every time there's a Katana story.
But it was shocking,
really
right?
Good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's when you know a story's pretty good, when it's a character that you could care less about, and you're like, you know what, that's pretty darn good.
Yeah. And even the inclusion of King Snake, who I don't like, but you know what, it's pretty cool.
Damn, you guys are convincing me that this is a good book. But
I enjoyed it.
What do you give it, Reggie?
Well, the worst thing about this book,
the price.
It's $8.
Yeah.
That pretty much kills it. I wouldn't tell anyone to buy it for $8. It's not worth $8. They should lower the price of this and take a hit if they want people to look at it. Because at $4,
I don't think that they're paying. You're printing an oversized deal, but I don't think they're paying these workshop people much, if anything.
I think the workshop people are paying them.
Yeah, I think no. But basically, what you do is you pay these people by sales. If it sells great, then you guys get a little extra. But they don't. I don't know how they do it.
They would never sell enough.
I would think that the minute you're in that workshop, you're signing away shit left and right to be in that workshop. That they can grab this and charge whatever the hell they want. And you don't see a cent.
They should charge $3 or $4 for it. That's the
it should be $4.99. It should be an annual size. Price, even though it's oversized, because you are giving us unrefined talent, I guess is what
it is
I
a lot
call
of it, but it's but as far as comparing this to last year, this is miles better than last year. I love the fact that they had artists and writers, and I enjoyed most of these stories to what they were, and I didn't think any of them were really horrible failures. They all did the job. Just some were better than others. I ended up giving it a 7 out of 10, and I'm
I'd
happy
give
to
it a
do
7 out of 10 as well. I
Right
actually
back to 7 out of
surprised.
10 here as well.
Yeah,
Whoa.
actually, I'm surprised because I thought I was going to be much lower when I first read it, but when we talked about it, that there were disappointments to me. The Nightwing deal was a little off, and the biggest disappointment, I really was excited to see what Tony Patrick had for the Signal because of the book coming out, but because it really didn't focus much on him. So I can't say that he doesn't know the character.
But still, 70% more Signal content than
that
any
is
other
true.
Batman
And I was going to say,
upstairs.
you can't ever say to anybody really at this point, like, oh, he doesn't get the voice of the Signal or Duke, because you had We Are Robin and then went, and you got a lot in We Are Robin, but that's not really this character anymore.
And I'm saying the Duke has evolved since then a lot.
That's what I'm saying. It's not even the same guy anymore. He is more, he has evolved and he's matured and things like that. So really, I hope that this is just a weird snafu of not getting enough of Duke in this, because Tony Patrick really going into this book, and it's co-written by Scott Snyder, but it seems like he's doing the most of the deal. He has the chance to define the character, anew for him as the Signal. And I'm still looking forward to that, but I really wanted to read this little story and be like, you know what? This is going to be fucking awesome. Like, it's in good hands and going. And I still think he's okay. It just, I wish I got more of that from this issue. I realized that he might be allergic to dander. Is what I found out, and so am I.
He's from a bad neighborhood, Jim.
So there you go. I'm from a bad neighborhood as well, which actually is a bad Quaker town that we live in. Is every neighborhood's bad here? So, but I just, and again,
what's the favorite pastime of Quaker town? Meh.
Just to go back, I'm even because I'm paging through, and again, he went with classic with the Jason Todd, Joker, Crowbar. We've had enough of this. We've had enough of that. But I think that both, all three of us are a little more positive than I thought we would be for this.
Me as well.
Now, Reggie, you're primed up for the holiday special of next week. We have another one of these things again.
All right.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. But yeah. That's that, and we're gonna go off. Those are your books for the week, Reggie. And I guess now you are going to go and go to jolly old England, right?
I gotta catch the plane right now, so
I figured you would.
Is it jolly old or is it Mario?
I'll see you in a fortnight, lads. Actually,
yes,
I'll see you.
I'll see you too. But
so a week.
Yes. 2 weeks. He's gone. He's going for a month. But yeah, that is it. Thanks, Reggie. I asked Reggie too if he was going to call in from England, a live call. He said that he probably will not swing it.
Yeah,
so,
a live call. You're gonna pay my international phone?
No, you're right on fucking. You got a phone. You put the Skype on the phone. You calls us up.
I don't even do international plan. My wife does all that shit. I just fucking.
That's what Toby grab his phone. You can call in Toby's phone. Just don't lick it. Don't lick it, or you'll catch something. Because he called in a couple weeks ago with that, so there you go. I'm gonna set you up. But then again, when we're recording, it may be 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and that's nonsense. But thanks, Reggie.
Gotcha.
And off we go. All right, Eric. It's over. That's it. Annuals week done. We're not talking about anything else, right? It's over. We're going home.
Goodbye, Annuals week.
Done.
Smell you later.
See you and never. No, we're still going to talk about a bunch of books, and this is what we will be talking about on our main podcast this Sunday night when it drops, Eric. Aquaman Annual number 1, which we talked to Reggie about, a little bit of a mercy me issue. I was going to say it. I don't know. I don't want to spoil it. I was going to say what it was, but I didn't want to spoil it in case people haven't read it yet, so I will not say.
A little bit of a mercy, huh?
Have mercy is what I was going to say. We also have Batman Annual number 2, Eric, looking into the future. I don't want to spoil things. Batman Creature of the Night number 1, which is a Patreon only deal we talked about. Can I spoil something about that? Can I spoil one thing? Right. It's my book of the week. So,
all right.
So there. We also have Green Arrow Annual number 1. I had problems saying that today, didn't I? When I said to you, that Green Annual. Green Annual sounds like a new book with swamps.
Green Annual number 1. I think I wrote that down wrong.
I'm green with envy. Yes, there's Green Arrow Annual number 1. If you like Count Vertigo, never mind. Eric? Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, number 33. We already talked about that with Reggie as well. I will say, hold tight for the cliffhanger.
I look forward to that arc.
Yeah, you do. You said that. I didn't. You didn't hear me say it. Actually,
No.
It's okay. Justice League of America Annual number 1 will be on the Patreon only, like we said. Maybe that is a public service. Mystic U number 1 is what I think Eric was hinting at. That a surprise book. A surprise book that it surprised you that it came out. I think that it'll also surprise you of how well it's done. At least the cast of characters you can't beat. You also have the New Talent Showcase 2017 number 1. Why didn't I open the app before so I'd know what it was called at the beginning? You just heard that, but that will be on the main podcast as well. And the final book of the week, very short week, Super Sons Annual number 1. That I have.
What do you think of that one?
I haven't read it yet, Eric. When we're done this, I'm going to go off to read it. So I will do my due diligence. No, Simon asked me when I was going to do it. I knew what he actually meant was, why are you so lazy and why haven't you done it yet?
Why are you
got
so
the
lazy,
hint,
you
Simon.
fat piece of shit?
I'm telling you, I got the hint, Simon. I'm going to do it, maybe. I told him it'll be done. I wish I would have said it'll be done Thursday. So then I could use the old joke I didn't tell him what Thursday. Yeah, yeah, I told him the night. I didn't tell him what
right
tonight.
After the last Supergirl you didn't do.
Yeah. Keep going there, Argus. Yes. It's always a joke with me because when we first started the site, we had Villains Month, and Eric never did the Forever Evil tie-in. What was it?
Argus.
Just Argus? Was it just called Argus, or
was it just called Argus?
Okay. Well, we had that, but today we start going through because for some reason we were waxing nostalgic about the Villains Month and kind of laughing because again, this happened. Villains Month when it happened in New 52 was like a month and a half after we started the site, and it was really something that we really like. All right, we're gonna make our mark. We are so fresh and green and wanted to get going, and then we realized now that nobody ever did the Eclipso. Like we thought that the only thing that we didn't do was Man Bat because we couldn't get a hold of the book because at that point we just buy the books and do it. We figured out today that we didn't do Eclipso either.
Nope.
It actually shocked me. That never came up anywhere.
And like Jim, you give me shit about Argus, but I was busy during that whole big event. I was doing the Forever Evil event. I did Arkham War, and I did
you were busy.
What was the other one? Friggin'
It was that Bane. No, what was it?
No, that was Arkham War.
That was the
Arkham
War.
Rebellion. And what was the
Argus.
other goddamn one I did? And I can't even think of now.
I think it was just Argus.
Goddamn face. Now I can't remember.
No. And also, I'll go back. I'll look at the stats because I think when you were doing that, I was pretty much bringing up the rear with all the other books that were coming out. So we'd have to see.
I had all my books with it. Bam.
I don't remember. What's that?
No, I had all my other books with it.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just trying to get this shit.
I don't know what was going on. No, I think that Argus, it just fell off. I can't. It's a slippery slope though when you miss an issue and then you miss two and then it's done. You're never going back and redoing it. But hey. I will tell everybody what we were talking about the Villains Month. It's kind of exciting to talk about it again. Maybe we'll have a special episode of some sort that talks about that. I don't know. I'm just talking out my ass. But yes, that is the spotlight. Eric, I hope that everybody enjoyed it. Come and listen to our regular podcast. Go over to the Patreon account at patreon.com/weirdscience. Check out everything there. See if it's, something for you. No pressure, Eric. No pressure at all. What do we say at the end?
Turn that spotlight off.
Oh, there he goes!